Hey gamer, let's talk about the runes for Leona. Coming into Season 10, Leona's going to be probably the most dominant engage support as she just has more stats than the other ones. Lower cooldowns, more stats, more damage. Perfect. That, and she's like a traditional support. And the way that XP has changed, it makes non-traditional supports um, like Nautilus, etc. and like it makes them not scale as well because if they don't have like inherent scaling in their kit and need either items to give them like ability power or even just armor and magic resist or even health, like then they're really going to be feeling bad coming into season 10. So Keystone we're going to be going with obviously is Aftershock. Aftershock offers you more resistances whenever you engage. So if you land your ult or your E or even your Q, like as you get onto a target, then you're going to have you're going to be tankier basically, like at the start of a fight. And then this lasts for 2 seconds and then is on a 20-second cooldown and then deals a little bit of damage as well. So it happens pretty naturally. You land your E, you're on top of someone, and then you stun them, and you're just going to be dealing more damage and be tankier to whoever would be behind them trying to hit you. So it's a pretty simple rune to use, but with Leona's kit specifically, where you have her W as well, you basically have two Aftershocks because all Aftershock does is give you more armor and magic resist, and then that's exactly what Leona W does as well. So you can actually be way tankier than you otherwise would be for like about 4 or 5 seconds versus most champions just they're tanky on their initial engage. And since they're CC in a target, it can be counterintuitive in that sense. But in the bot lane, you're going to be getting value because you're usually either CCing the AD or the support, and then whichever one you didn't CC is going to be retaliating on you as well. But then the damage they're dealing isn't going to be as significant. So the best option for Leona by far, even if you're against a poke lane, running something like Guardian doesn't make sense. So it's going to be your go-to every single game. Third rune is going to be Font of Life. Demolish was pretty popular last season, but like the turret plating gold is nerfed. The lanes you're going to be playing into, like you kill them and then you get the turret plates. Basically, you're never going to be in the situation in which you're in front of the tower and then going to be able to proc demolish without like taking any damage, or just not going to happen. Basically, you're an engaged support. You're either like zoning and then your AD's like hitting the tower for the plates, or you're not hitting the tower. It just doesn't happen. So what Font of Life offers is whenever you impair an enemy's movement, so whenever you slow or CC them, then you're going to mark them, and then whenever your allies auto attack, then they heal just a little bit. It's not a crazy amount, but they heal a little bit over 2 seconds. So throughout an all-in, you could proc an all-in in the bot lane, you could proc Font of Life 3 to 4 times. It's pretty good. And then come mid-game is when you really start getting value out of this, because anytime you CC someone or slow them, like you're gonna be applying this, and then all 4 of your allies can hit a target versus just one. So that's when you see the numbers like really ramp up on Font of Life. So it's good in the laning phase, and it's even better in team fights. It's a pretty solid rune that has been kind of overlooked for things like Shield Bash and Demolish in previous seasons. And the third row, I would say the default's probably Second Wind, as most lanes you're going to be playing into are going to be ranged lanes. Into melee lanes, like let's say Nautilus, maybe Blitzcrank, bone plating is okay, but the thing is with bone plating too, it's kind of counterintuitive because if you engage, you already have your aftershock going, so blocking extra damage for that doesn't really matter. If you're engaging and then it's just a small trade, then the second wind is higher value. If you're against poke champions, the second wind is higher value. The only other good option I would say would be conditioning. Conditioning is pretty interesting. Let's say if you're against, it could be a melee support like that you're not going to interact with, like let's say Alistar or something, you could run conditioning. Or if you're in a counter lane, like let's say Morgana, the classic counter to Leona, if you're against Morgana, the laning phase is just nothing basically. Like you don't really have opportunities to go in unless the Morgana like drastically misplays, which they will in solo queue, but even if they don't, then with conditioning, after 10 minutes you gain bonus armor and magic resist, and then you gain a percentage of bonus armor and magic resist. So this has multiplicative effects with her W, Aftershock, and Leona's build, because all you're going to be building is armor and magic resist items. So conditioning is actually pretty solid, especially like being whenever you run it in a matchup that is considered like a hard counter. because you don't have to engage in the laning phase. The game can go on, you can lose your tower and go into mid game and still be like level 9 and very strong. And then if you win one fight, the whole matchup can flip, man. Especially if you have these bonus stats, which will help you to do that. So that's an interesting option, but the default would be second win, as you just take less damage from poke as you heal it throughout the laning phase. Third row, going to go with Overgrowth. Basically, whenever you're near minions or monsters that die, they give you stacks at max stacks, or you get more health per stacks, and then at max stacks you get a percentage of bonus health. This basically just gives you a ruby crystal come mid game. That's what this does. It's very strong for a support where you don't want to be having to purchase a lot of stats. So having this extra health for free on a champion that gets so much armor and magic resist for free is really, really strong. You don't need unflinching, as your cooldowns are really, really short on Leona as well. You don't need the tenacity to like get out of a fight, because all Leona does is go in and exist. If the enemies are hitting her, they're dealing less damage, and that's how you get value out of the champion. So having the slow and tenacity from this isn't required, nor is it useful really. In very few matchups would you actually need the slow resist. And then, yeah, even then, the bonus health probably gives you more value. More so gives your team more value, as if you're just alive longer, you can get more abilities off, or you can get more position in a fight for your team. Secondary rune's going to be Inspiration with Hextech Flash and then Biscuit Delivery. With Hextech Flash, whenever your flash is down, it gives you a replacement, which makes it where when you channel, you have to channel it, and then after channeling it for like 2 seconds, then you gain like a little bit of distance forward. Imagine like 3 Teemos forward. But then what this allows you to do is like move up in a bush and lane and then channel it, and then immediately be a little bit past the bush that you are in, and then be in range to land an E or an ult on the enemy in the laning phase. That's mostly what you're going to be using Hextech Flash for. It can help you get over walls and shit, but it's mostly just for like surprising the enemy in laning phase if you've already flashed on them to kill them once. So it's kind of like a snowballing tool. It's not required, and you could run perfect timing just for the one stopwatch use as well. So, but Hextech Flash is way more dominant in solo queue by far. Third or second rune in this is going to be Biscuit Delivery. What Biscuit Delivery does is give you a biscuit every 2 minutes, and then that when you use it, it restores your missing health and mana. This helps with all ends. If they're really close, then having the extra healing from this can make or break a fight. But then it also gives you maximum mana. So if you use them or if you sell them, then you can get extra mana. And if you have to itemize, like let's say into Locket first item or something, even Knight's Vow, then you're going to be missing out on like mana to actually have multiple rotations throughout a team fight. So the extra mana helps. It's not required though. You could even run Futures Market to get Moby Boots faster, or you could run Cosmic Insight for the extra Summoner Spell CDR and then more CDR on your abilities. So these two aren't required, but they're what I'm recommending for most players, as they're basically the easiest to use, and then also like kind of help correct mistakes to some degree. For runes, gonna go with attack speed, armor, and then armor. If you're into an enchanter matchup, you could run magic resist, and then if you're into a melee matchup, you could run bonus health. But default armor is pretty effective, as you're going to be negating the AD carry's damage the most. And by doing so, it just makes the AD carry feel even worse for hitting you, because mainly you just get on top of them, and then they're the only one who can really deal damage to you in terms of the laning phase. But then with enchanter supports, they're going to be, usually they have one poke ability, so if you absorb that for your AD, then you're going to be winning as well. And then if you have the extra magic resist too, it just makes you overall tankier. But if you don't have to run any of them, then just having the flat health that scales gives you some of, like, it just gives you more value in come mid game. So these are the runes I recommend. The only variation for secondary runes maybe would be like this and this. It'd be kind of interesting to hook champions, but the old Presence of Mind was better with this, as it would reduce your old CDR, but that's not the case anymore. The other rune trees like aren't even worth bothering with. You could run something like this and this, not so useful. You could even run like this and I don't even know, this and this. Again, it's okay, they're okay options, but they're probably just outweighed by Hextech Flash and this in terms of like a solo queue game. So these are the runes for Leona. Like the most basic support that there is, and the job is always the same: engage onto the enemy, cast all the abilities on top of them, and then you just magically survive because their stats are pretty ridiculous. So yeah, if this video helped, leaving a like, and I mean, if you don't click the bell, it's kind of cringe, but I understand. Leaving a like helps. If you want to watch some support gameplay, I'll be live as Season 10 starts. Twitch.tv/SawyerNelson. If you have any questions too, like I'll actually respond to them in the YouTube comments, or you can message me on any social media that I have. So thanks for watching. Hope this helped. Bye bye. See ya. See you later. Bye.